it's all of it's the same type of stuff, man. It's people are tired of the bullshit. They're tired of this mess.
Right.
They actually want somebody who's going to fix the problems, and
Right.
that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on fixing the problems, man.
Yeah.
So,
Word. I'll be outside there. I'll be live tonight.
all right.
So I'll see you down there too. Smooth. You guys both back?
Yes.
All right. Great. I'm gonna hit record on both of these.
Make sure I look good, Jacob.
Oh yeah. That'll just be an easy two-shot. Yeah, and we'll just have a conversation. This isn't live or anything like that, so we'll take our time. There's no issues here. I got my list of questions here, but first and foremost, I'll open it up to you. Give me your primary statement. What do you want to open with?
Well, the first thing I like everybody to know is that I'm a current representative right now, House District 52, and I'm here standing for the people. That's about it. And, you know, I always tell people I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, Independent, Green Party, whatever you want to identify as. We all are facing the same issues currently. We all want to just have a better life. We want to have better schools. We want to have better roads. We want to have better health care, and that's what I represent. You know, I represent the common individual, the everyday American that just wants to achieve the American dream. And I'm just excited to be that person who is championing all those issues of the American people.
Understood. And running as a Democrat in a primarily red state, which has been red for decades now, how does that play into your campaigning? How does that play into your messaging?
Well, the thing is, I don't believe that South Carolina is a red state. I believe South Carolina right now is just a state of people who have decided to check out and not vote. And if you look at the numbers and look at the data around South Carolina, most people just are not engaged in the process. And that's partly because of our leaders. The leaders have not given people anything to be inspired about. We have 22 years of single party rule here in South Carolina. And over those 22 years, we still have the same issues. We're still 43rd in education. Our roads are still the worst in the country. We have the highest percentage of bridges in disrepair in the entire country. And it doesn't matter who's in leadership, we still have the same problems. So people just checked out. They feel that nobody really cares about them, nobody's hearing them, and I want to change that.
Understood. And as far as the Republican Party, I know that they would rebuttal. I've covered many of their events as well, and they say, well, we are succeeding as South Carolina under Republican control. If Democrats take over, they would make a mess of this. What's your response to that?
Well, where are we succeeding at is what I would ask that question. If you heard my State of the State rebuttal, you know, if we are 43rd in education, how are we succeeding there? Where our children are becoming less educated. We have over 600 unsolved murders in South Carolina just since 2020. How are we succeeding on law and order and crime? We have the highest percentage of bridges in disrepair in the entire country. How are we succeeding on having the forward-thinking infrastructure for the people of South Carolina? Our roads are the worst in the country. How are we succeeding on lowering insurance costs for people who are driving their cars? Our tax base is ridiculous. Our rural communities are suffering. Our farms are shutting down. Rural hospitals are closing down. I don't know how we're succeeding if we're literally the bottom of everything we should be the top of, and the top of everything we should be the bottom of. And we continue to see this over and over and over again. But the message, they continue trying to sell us a lie, essentially. You know, everyday people are going to the grocery stores and they're seeing the price of their eggs still high. People are going to the gas pumps and the gas prices are still high. You know, we still have these problems right now in South Carolina. So for individuals to keep saying that we're winning, they are clearly delusional.
Understood. Let me just make sure. Let's see. You mentioned you want to work on roads, crime, and education. Where do you plan on getting the funding for any of those projects?
Well, the good thing is South Carolina every year has $1 billion surplus. So there is funds, you know, the way those funds need to be allocated and split up, you know, it needs to be talked about and discussed. But we have funding here in South Carolina. And then there's also funding in terms of Medicaid expansion that's available for us that we have continuously refused to accept here in South Carolina. But I also wanted to look at the wasteful spending that we do have, because we do have wasteful spending, but it's not in the areas in which people think it is. All right, the wasteful spending comes into, you know, $10 million private facilities that are in some of these counties out here that no regular citizen can go into unless you are a certain stature or a certain individual. We've got, you know, new locations that we're wasting, you know, $500 million on to build veterinary schools up in places, you know, where we really should be focusing on fixing the infrastructure here in South Carolina. We are doing things that, you know, should not be the priority list. And we should really be looking at everyday things that people are talking about at the kitchen table. So we have funds that are available. We just need to redirect them from other places where there are wasteful spending to the places that, you know, actually need to be changed.
You spoke about topics that are discussed at the kitchen table. What are voters telling you? What are those common topics?
Well, about a year and a half ago, before I even thought about running for governor, I decided to do a statewide tour to go to different counties to hear the issues that people were facing in these counties. And surprisingly enough, when I went to those counties and I asked everybody, if they knew who their state senator was, they knew who their representative was, or their council member was. And majority of those people in all of those 30 different counties that I went to could not tell me who their representative was or who their senator was. But the number one issue they told me in every single county was mental health. Every single county said the same exact thing. And they said this because of the young people who were getting access to guns, not knowing conflict resolution, and they were thinking about shoot first, ask questions later, and be remorseful later. And that is an issue that we have to address here in South Carolina. So number one issue I heard was mental health resources and figuring out how to expand the beds that we have here for mental health patients in South Carolina, because we do have a large percentage of people who are sitting in prison right now who should be in a mental health facility. And we have to truly be talking about rehabilitating our people, because 90% of the people who are in prison now are coming home. So we have to talk about how we're going to make these people productive citizens of our society, and to talk about what we can do to best support individuals all across South Carolina.
Understood. Let me just reference my notes here. You mentioned in one of your videos that you want to support law enforcement when they say having open carry laws would make their jobs more difficult. How would you plan on changing those laws? How would you direct that problem?
Yeah, well, the issue that I constantly see from my colleagues across the aisle is that they say we want to back the blue, we want to support law enforcement. But the law enforcement community came out by and large and said they did not want that bill to pass. They did not want it because they said it would make their jobs much more difficult, much more dangerous. And in a time like this, when we have a polarizing, divisive environment out here, I think we need to be listening to our law enforcement. I think we need to be talking to them and helping them and assisting them with what they have going on. So right now, we have less highway patrolmen in 2026 than we did in 1970. And our population back then was only about 1 million people. It's now 5.4 million people in South Carolina. We have people moving into South Carolina, by and large, they say we're the number one state for growth in terms of the Southeast and everything. But also what they're not talking about is we are also the fastest state of people leaving South Carolina and trying to find some other place. So we have to tell the entire story of what we have going on. So when it comes to the Second Amendment, I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment, but I believe in responsible gun ownership. Right now, we're one of the states that does not have a negligent storage law. That means if anybody puts a weapon anywhere and somebody else grabs it and they can shoot somebody else, then nobody will be held liable for that except for whoever the person was. But I think that we should believe in responsible gun ownership for all people. And when I've talked about this issue with lots of Republicans all across the state, they agree with me. They agree people should have some sort of training to be operating these weapons. Because if we don't have the mental health resources, but yet we're making the guns available for kids who are 18 years of age, some of them who are still in high school, who don't have the complete development of their brains yet, they're going to go out there and they're going to make irrational decisions. None of us are the same, think the same, or operate the same as we did when we were 18 years old. And I think it's time for us to realize that 18-year-olds should not be walking around with weapons.
So would you raise the minimum age?
I would love to look at raising the minimum age, and if we don't want to raise the minimum age to operate a weapon or have a weapon, I think everybody should have training before they can get a weapon.
Understood. Sticking with the side of law enforcement, we've seen ICE operations here in the state. I want to get your stance on the ICE operations that we've seen, and we also have seen sheriffs who have been encouraging these operations. And you're talking about backing the blue. How does that all fit together? Yeah, well, the thing is, I partner up with my law enforcement a lot, and there's a national rhetoric that, Democrats don't support law enforcement and we don't support law and order. We don't support, that couldn't be further from the truth. The issue that we have here is that when you start doing government overreach, which is what we're seeing with this administration, is to put federal agents into our towns and our cities all across this country. And the issue that we continue to see is that it's making the jobs of our local and state law enforcement more dangerous and more stressful. Because when our law enforcement are out there trying to protect the citizens, now we have citizens out here who are afraid to talk to the law enforcement. They're afraid to go to report a crime because they think that they might be mistaken for something or anything like that. And the issue that I continue to see also with the ICE operations is, if I'm looking at you, there's no way you can look at me or I look at you and say that you are in fact an American citizen. There's no way we can tell that just by looking at each other.
The only way you can figure that out is by saying, show me your documents, show me your papers, and show me those things. The last time we saw that was in Nazi Germany, when they were walking around checking on Jewish individuals to see if they were Jewish or to see what denomination they were. Before that was slavery, when they were walking around checking African Americans to say, all right, show me your freedom papers. I don't think we need to roll back the times to go back to times where we were, infiltrating on people's civil liberties and checking people out like that. I think there's a better way that we can cohesively work together and figure out how to keep America safe.
Understood. So just bottom line, are you supporting these ICE operations or are you not supporting them?
Not in the way that they're doing it now, no.
Understood. How would you want them to be changed?
Well, I would like the federal administration to actually come to the state and work with us, talk to us. Don't do things like what's happening in Columbia right now, where they decided to lease a building on Main Street in Columbia, South Carolina, and not telling any of the elected officials, not telling any of the leaders about anything. If you're gonna come here and you wanna work with us to help us out with some things, then let's talk about that. But if you're gonna come here and do secretive operations and just terrorize our communities, then you will not be welcome here.
Understood. As a Democrat, you and Mullins McLeod are the only two Democrats who are running for the position of governor. I interviewed him, and he told me that he is running as a different Democrat. You have the same type of messaging, that you're a different type of Democrat. What do you mean by that? How do you stand apart from him and other Democrats in general?
Yeah, well, I'm not focused on any distractions or anything like that. I'm running for the people of South Carolina. So I'm not focused on anybody else who believes they could be the person or anything like that. I'm running for the people of South Carolina. I've been a different Democrat. I've been that type who stand against the Democrats. I've stood against Republicans. I've stood with Democrats. I've stood with Republicans. I've been known as the independent thinker up there in the General Assembly. And everybody knows that, I spend time with everybody trying to just make sure that I do the right thing. And that's the common message that I've continuously given ever since I've been in office. I've said, I don't care what you identify as, just do the right thing. Do the right thing. Let your morals and your values and your ethics lead your decisions that you're making. And is this going to make South Carolinians more safe? Is this going to make life more affordable for people in South Carolina? And that has been my entire message this entire time. And over the last, 10, 15 years, I have been in the community. I've been in the trenches. I've been at the marches. I've been at the rallies. I've been a part of everything that's trying to help move South Carolina forward. And I believe that's what sets me apart from everybody else, is that I'm not just showing up today to come out of nowhere and try to feed an ego or do anything like that. I've been out here in the communities. I've been mentoring. I've been speaking up. I've been at the committee hearings. I've been at the meetings. I've been doing this stuff. So I want to continue to expand those operations and to help everybody across South Carolina.
Understood. We're seeing a lot of divide between the political parties right now, and it seems to be ever growing. And you spoke a little bit about bipartisanship. How do you plan on bridging that gap, especially as governor? They are the leader of the state. How do you see that coming together?
Yeah, well, recently I actually received an award for my bipartisanship from the University of Delaware because of my ability to work across the aisle. And I don't believe in reaching across the aisle. We hear that often, of reaching across the aisle. I don't believe in reaching across the aisle. I get up, I walk across the aisle, and I sit down with them, and then we talk about it, and we come up with a compromise and meet back in the middle. That's the way I've always operated. I've always operated with hearing from everybody, hearing all sides, thinking this out, thinking everything through, breaking every issue down, and coming up with a solution to the problem. Because I go to these meetings and I ask everybody, who wants a safer neighborhood? Everybody raises their hand. Who wants better education? Everybody raises their hand. Who wants cheaper groceries or more affordable lifestyle? Everybody raises their hand. The core issues of every South Carolinian is exactly the same. And I think if we can talk about those issues, I think we can all come together and find out a solution. And that's how I've been doing it up there at the State House.
Understood. Let me just make sure. If you could give voters 3 key pieces of policy that you would like to enact, what would they be?
Well, the first thing would be the mental health aspect of everything. I want to look at where our funding is going for mental health resources here in South Carolina, and I want to start expanding that. I want to look at mental health facilities so that we can get some of these people outside of who are supposed to be out of the prisons and into these mental health facilities to start looking at that. I want to look at conflict resolution solutions for young people and start doing some criminal justice policy reforms, and to really see how we can invest in these young people who are where the leading cause of death right now is gun crimes and gun problems. We just saw some 2 young people just died the other day at South Carolina State University. And I think we need to start addressing those issues. That needs to be a priority on everybody in this state to really help save this next generation of people. So mental health is definitely one. Infrastructure, because like I said earlier, is that our bridges are the highest, we have the highest percentage of bridges and disrepair in the entire country. Roads are the worst in the entire country. I think we need to be doing that. The last time you drove through North Carolina, I know you saw the line in the road. It's absolutely embarrassing that we have a state like this, that we have to ride on roads like this, as well as be taxed through the roof for your vehicles, and then we're not fixing the roads in which you're being taxed on, and that money's supposed to be used to fix those roads. So I want to look at that. I want to look at the overall structure of DOT. DOT controls more roads than most of the states in the Southeast. We have to look at how to redistribute some of those roads back to some of the counties and figure out the budgeting shortfalls for that. And then the last piece would definitely be education. Education, being 43rd in education in the entire country, with states all around us higher than us in education. We have to figure out how to fix that. One of those things that I plan on doing is creating a public education audit for K through 12 to look at comparing the rural well-performing schools with the rural poor-performing schools, as well as the urban well-performing schools with the urban poor-performing schools. I want to look at administration overhead, and I want to look at best practices throughout the entire state. Because what we do know is that in Greenville, those public schools are getting more funds than schools, let's say in Denmark or Bamberg. And the funding is just off. So we need to look at some equitable solutions for that. And I have a full-on plan audit for that. And then I'll just give you one last one, my South Carolina Resource and Resiliency Act. So right now, South Carolina produces only 11% of the food we consume. And we have to expand that. So my South Carolina Resource and Resiliency Act would actually expand that to 25%, which will allow our rural communities to thrive. Our farmers would be able to grow their businesses and to expand their farms, and we can start investing right back into our rural communities to help create some economic, success.
Understood. I'll make sure I am recording. Beautiful. I want to go back to voters really quick, and about how this has been, as you said, it's been a red state for so long. And what the messaging you said was that voters are uninformed. How do you plan on informing voters, especially if they're so comfortable with where they are right now, or if it's been 20 years since there has been any change, and right now Clyburn is the only blue representative. Yeah. How do you plan on changing that?
Well, meeting the people where they are. And that goes back to what I was saying about traveling the state and talking to voters and them not knowing who the senator was or who the representative was or council person or anything like that. You have to meet voters where they are and talk specifically about the issues that are affecting them every single day. I tell you one thing that I'm doing in this governor's race that I also did on my representative race is that I was able to tell you exactly what precinct needed what solution and the breakdown by neighborhood and community, what they were actually looking for. And that's what I want to do here in South Carolina, is look at every single precinct in this state and see what are their top issues in their community. And that involves meeting those individuals in their community, talking to them, seeing what their pain points are, and coming up with a solution to fix those things. But the good thing is, like I said, is most people just agree on the same exact things. It's just the solutions on how they get there is what you have to work through. So going to these schools, going to the colleges and universities, talking to the students, talking to the young people when they come visit the State House has been working well for everything that I've been doing, and they've been receiving everything I've been saying.
Understood. I only have about 2 more questions, and I'll let y'all get out of here. We've done multiple stories here at the station about the abortion laws in the state. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I mean, and I'm gonna tell you this story here. So I've been married. I've been with my wife for 15 years. We have 4 children, and I've been in the delivery room every single time when my children are born. And I've sat there with my wife and we've prayed together. I've rubbed her back. I've tried to reassure her that everything was gonna be okay. And during those times, I'm nervous. I'm a father. I'm just trying to protect my wife and trying to make her feel comfortable and be that person there for her. And during that time, my wife is telling me, Jermaine, if this happens, I need you to advocate for this, or if this happens, I need you to do this. Or she was literally preparing her affairs every single time we gave birth to our child. And with her doing that, there was never once during those times where I've been in that delivery room that I feel like I would die based on my wife giving birth. Never once. And for that reason, my wife has felt that she would die based on giving birth. We know the data here. We know that mortality is up with women giving birth in these hospitals. That is an issue. So for that, I filed the bill called the Joint Committee on Women's Reproductive Rights, which is Bill 3412. And that would create a committee made up of Republican women and Democrat women to come up with the foundation, the basis of what they believe would work best for women's reproductive rights and women's health care rights. because I don't believe that I should be telling them what they should do with their bodies. But then after that, after they come up with their findings and what they believe, they're going to then bring that information to the full General Assembly, which will allow men and fathers to come forward and put in amendments and different changes there to say that we need to add this in there for fathers and add this in there for individuals like myself to say, hey, let's have a cohesive effort. But absolutely, women should be leading the charge on this. And I think it's a shame that men want to go ahead and lead the charge on this reproductive rights issue. Since 1995, about 65 bills have been filed by men to restrict women's reproductive rights. Since then, only about 11 bills have been filed by women. Men have no reason to be trying to lead the charge on this. It should be women at the forefront of this.
Understood. Let me make sure. So one key topic that just kind of came to the top of my head while we we're doing this interview, Governor McMaster, he's heavily against online sports betting, mobile sports betting in the state. And he has said multiple times that he would veto a bill if it ever came across his desk. Not specifically about sports betting, but if you were governor, would there be topics like what bills would you be willing to veto? That you have such a strong stance on that you think this would be bad for the state? I cannot let this go.
Well, everything is going to be up for a discussion. In my administration, I will have people made up of all parties to discuss some of these issues because I don't claim to know everything about everything. And I want to surround myself with the best and the brightest that South Carolina has to offer. And I want to discuss all these different types of bills, all these different types of policies. One thing I do want to make sure gets passed is medicinal cannabis, medicinal marijuana. I think our military veterans who have signed up to give the ultimate sacrifice for all of us to be sitting here today should have all different types of options to help out with their PTSD. I think we need to be talking about some of those solutions for these individuals. So anything like that, I am all up for discussion to try to pass. And majority of the hot topic things, I'd like to see how we can put them to referendums because I want the people to decide how we should move South Carolina forward.
Beautiful. Is there anything I missed that we want to add? Any topics I didn't cover, you guys?
Yeah, those are the big ones, yeah.
Those are the big ones?
Yeah.
Anything about families you wanted to talk about?
I think the women's reproductive rights is about families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fathers, mentoring youth, anything like that.
And I'll be at the town hall tonight, so
Oh,
if there is
okay.
anything, I can talk to you guys there too.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, we good?
Cool. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
beautiful.
All
There you go.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, sir.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for taking the time. All right.
I love the boots.
Oh,